One, Love Talk Radio. Welcome to Food Alchemy Network. You have embarked on a journey of unbelievable resources and talent and understanding. Your body thanks you, your mind embraces you, and all your thoughts are trying, moving, and going into balance with self. Open that portal to the next galaxy, the next universe, the next dimension. Along this trip, our captain extraordinaire is Dr. Cicely D. Angela. Allow her to guide you, introduce you, and embrace our guests with great resources from the unknown to the known to what we thought to remove the illusions that you have about yourself, your surroundings, and your vortex of the matrix in which you live. Let's go and embark on this journey. Food Alchemy Network. Dr. Cicely D. Angela will be tuning and moving with you along with her illustrious guest that she has presented on this luxury network of Food Alchemy Network. So without further ado, welcome to Food Alchemy Network and welcome our guest and our illustrious host, Dr. Cicely D'Angelo. Blessings.
Hello, everybody. How are you? I am Dr. D from Food Alchemy Network. We're coming to you live, not only here on YouTube, but we're also live on Blog Talk. So if you want to join into the conversation, chat in the chat room. There we got it right here on YouTube. There we are. Whoa, whoa, whoa. And if you want to call in live, what I would like you to do is call 563-999-3007. That number again is 563-999-3007. And you can call. When you push that button, number one, you can ask any question that you have for our guests. Without further ado, we're going to present with you. As I said, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. I'm excited. We are doing a test pilot show for Coffee with Ori. Now, this being that it is October 10th, is World Mental Health Day. We are going to take it from there and talk about the mental health of the melanated and also the Hispanic community and how it affects and how we can get a better understanding and a better grip on it. So if you're ready, let me know. And if you have a question, like I said, if you're on Blog Talk, push that number one button so that I can see you and bring you in on our conversation. Again, this is a test pilot. I want to say, welcome, Maureen.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. So we want to tell them you are an intuitive life coach, so that you bring a lot to the table today. So explain what an intuitive life coach is, because not a lot of people know what that is.
Well, actually, I am a medium. I am an empath, a spiritual healer, meditation teacher, many titles. But I've chosen to just be known as an intuitive life coach because I have the ability to direct and coach, but I also have the ability to see, not just the dead, but also see when someone is ill.
That helps.
Okay.
Oh, thank you for that. Now, I have some questions prepared. Let's get down and dirty with the mental health.
Okay.
I like that because we talk about it's affecting our community, and most people think it does not affect our community. That mental health in our community is a shameful, dirty thing. It's a hidden secret. You know what I mean? In our community.
But that's what it is. It's the dirty little secret that nobody wants to talk about. You know?
So we're about to break the blanket off of you.
Well, we're actually gonna tear. We're actually gonna tear the band-aid off, okay, and make people aware. Um, what's ironic about mental health is that, you know, sometimes it doesn't affect us until we're older. You can have a lot of crisis happen to you in your life as a child, and at one point or another, by holding on to that secret, especially our generation, the generation of the 50s, generation of people that are in their 40s, even in their late 30s. And then it goes beyond to people who are in their 60s and the 70s, because that was the era where families believed that what happens at home should stay at home. Okay. And as we both people of color, even though
Right.
I am,
You're mixed.
I'm a mixed, but I'm genetically altered because my skin is light. There's no such thing as light people. Everybody was born black. And then as mutation went on, you know, we started to mutate. In my family, mostly everybody is much darker than me. And I'm the only one with really light hair and light eyes that are light brown, and I'm very fair skinned. But to get to the root of the problem, we have to go back to the beginning of time. To the beginning, okay. One of the things that I need to stress that I don't think people are aware of. I don't even think they're aware of it. I don't even think the Jews are aware of it themselves. Okay. You know, they always say that they have been in bondage for so many years, so many centuries, you know? And what they don't realize is that they're all black people. They're just people that are of color who have been in bondage for many, many, many years, because every human person in the world, regardless of what color you are, if you trace your DNA, you are, what is it, you have, and I forgot the word, Anasazi Jew, and you are also from,
I know what you're saying.
And we're all from Western Africa.
Right.
So everybody starts off from Africa. So technically, I'm going to give it to you raw. The titty that fed everyone in the world was the motherland.
Okay.
And it's right. Jerusalem is Africa. Iran is Africa. Iraq is Africa. You know, Dubai is Africa.
Is Africa, right.
All of these places that are different and split up actually started off as one nation, and there was one nation which was of color. Now, everyone's DNA can be traced, but unfortunately, as time went on, and the way that you can really understand this, because they don't teach you this in school, the way that you can really understand it and know that it's true, if you look at pictures or statues of the pharaohs before BC,
correct,
around the time frame where the pyramids were built,
right,
and statues that they're finding now, they are older than the pyramids, not just in Egypt, but also in Peru, also in Mexico, also in Ecuador, also in Brazil. The kings all had wide noses, and they had black features. But of course, as the pigments started to change and the pharaohs started to change, they started to chop off the noses and the lips of the pharaohs that were on the walls. You know, so if you want to really, really, really talk about mental illness, we have to go back. We have to understand that the same way the blood, our DNA is connected to everything in our past, so is the pain.
Ashe.
You understand? The pain of not just the slavery from Africa coming into this country, because slavery has existed since the beginning of time. Okay? So we can sit here and discuss, well, only white people had slaves. No, actually, no. Africans had slaves for many, 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 many moons before white people had slaves.
Right.
So you think about this. You think about, and these are just scenarios. You think about this. You think about how you belong to a tribe. I belong to a tribe.
Mm-hmm.
Your tribe is more profitable than mine. I become jealous and envious, which is part of the world's BS that's going on anyway.
Right.
Then I go into your camp and try to destroy your camp, but meanwhile, your camp destroys mine and kills all the men and take the women and children.
Okay.
So the woman suffers, and that's embedded in her. So if she's pregnant, the baby's going to come out with the same condition that she has.
Wow.
So times that by 100 centuries, time that by 50 centuries, time that by 1,000 years,
Right.
it's running in your DNA. There are people that I know along the years that I've met, older people that have nerve conditions,
Mm-hmm.
and they're very abusive to their children when their children were little. So as they grow up, they get nerve conditions, but then you have one or two of your children that'll come out with the same condition. And it's not a learned behavior, because a learned behavior, you can learn a behavior. That's normal. That's, Psych 101. You can learn a behavior and act on it. But when it comes to mental illness, it's not a behavior. It's something that is inside you. Doesn't mean you're broken. It just means that something in your mind is computing in a different way than you are. That's all.
Right.
Like they look at autistic children. Well, you know what? Africa doesn't have a big population of autistic children.
True.
They don't have a big population of children with Asperger. They don't have a big population of any really degenerating diseases that we have here.
Mm-hmm.
I would honestly say, as a human being and as an American, that a lot of the diseases that African, and I say Africans,
Mm-hmm.
have gone through along the years, talking about the 1800s, 1700s, 1500s, things that a lot of people don't really even know about, because either they don't care to go back, or they just never allowed, they were never allowed to learn that. And you, as being an old friend of mine and a very dear friend, that the schools that we went to didn't teach Black history the way Black history was.
Correct.
So the point, not to get off the subject, the point that I'm trying to make is most European countries, England, because we are a derivative of England, of English people, of European people, many cultures. But if you really want to look at it, anything that we, or even the British colony, touches, we turn to shit. Everything. We go to people's countries and they treat us and they give us this love, try to teach us their culture. And what do? We steal. We make them, we mimic their culture. We steal their women, their ideas, their men. We're talking about past.
Right.
And then they use the men, they use them as guinea pigs. Now there was a time where there were many experiments that were used.
What's going on?
I'm not sure.
Because something's going in and out. That's why this is called a test pilot. But we still got good audience.
Well, for a long time, and we didn't really know about this until maybe like 20 years ago, when they started to show these things on HBO and all this stuff, and we started to learn. And then we go to the bookstores and we start to actually look for things that we've seen and we've read about. Now, the one thing that they don't talk about is that, one, how women were made to become sterile.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't just happen in the 60s or in the 50s. It happened many, many, many more times than that.
Right.
I'm not talking just about Europeans. Egyptians did it. The Africans did it to themselves, and they still do it to young ladies by circumcising them, thinking that that is healthy for them. And there's a great percentage of them that die.
Right.
Okay? So that's mutilation. It's the way it's always been. It's just like homosexuality. Why Christianity calls homosexuality an abomination?
Why?
But yet, from the beginning of time, men have always had sex with men, and vice versa, and women too. Now, that you're born to like it or born not to like it, it's a different story. Do you understand?
Oh, I totally get it.
Okay, so anyway, like I said, let's not get lost. Let's go back. Let's go back to the DNA.
Mental health, okay.
So we touch base on things that have occurred all the way from the beginning. Egypt, there's proof. There were slaves, many types of slaves. Egyptians were dark. The Jews were dark.
Right.
You know, I don't know where the Jews come, the majority of the Jews, and it's not anti-Semitic to say what I'm going to say. I don't know where the Jews come from, where they believe, oh, you know, only the blonde hair, blue eyes, you know, are the fair skin, those are the true Jews. That's bullshit. They're not the true Jews. They're not the true Jews. That's a mixture and a big mixture. Why? Because some people say, oh, both the father and the mother, from both the father and the mother, the son is Jewish, the children are Jewish. No, it's from the mother. Everything is based on the mother. Why? Because the reality of things is that the woman is the one that does everything. Right. Without a woman, you don't have anything. You know, the Bible says that there was Adam and Eve, and God took a rib from Adam to make Eve. But if you look at the chromosomes, you realize that Eve's chromosomes, a woman's chromosome is much larger than a male's chromosome. So if you take one part of this and you say, well, I'm going to take a rib from Adam to create Eve. What do you have? You have nothing. You take away the M-A, what do you have? L-E. L-E means nothing. You take away the F-E from female, what do you have? Male. Okay? So the woman is the creator. So I don't believe that there is a reason why women have one less rib less than a man. Right? Is it one?
Right.
Yeah. There's one reason why a woman has less ribs than a man. That's common sense. But you know what? But we've been programmed to believe that every single myth that is written correctly. I believe in the power of evolution. I believe that we evolved from something greater. Right. I believe in I believe that there are other people that live in this world, but in different dimensions of this world.
Ashe.
Because I've seen doors open and I've seen people come out of them. And I've actually seen birds fly in the sky and then disappear. So no one can tell me that there are no other dimensions, because there are. And
Right.
if you really read the Bible and if you really follow Solomon's life, you will realize that Solomon had a lot of dealings with many, many, many different things that did not belong to this world. Okay.
Right.
And again, now, what in that time frame, was it Solomon that was looking to change the race, or was it his grandfather, David? David took the fairest woman, and everybody wanted to follow because they made him a king. So
Right.
everybody wanted to follow David's path so that they can start to make him lighter. How the Egyptians, it's the same way. Okay, whatever transpired, and people started going their own ways. People started to go, but through generation and through many things that occurred that we will never know, because they're mysteries to us, and some of us don't believe, and some of us don't care to believe.
Right.
But the bottom line is that everything is structured and everything begins from Africa. Everything, the seed of life comes from an African woman. The creation of life comes from an African woman.
Right.
Now, Hispanics and Blacks are considered to be loud, obnoxious, not all of us, loud, obnoxious, rude, and downright ornery. Well, you know what? After you get thousands and thousands of years of being oppressed one way or the other, you start to change. You know, before the white people came into Africa and started to take slaves, they were not slaves. There were many, 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 many aristocrats before the slavery even began. There were queens and there were princesses. So you come from royalty. The darker, the more beautiful.
Right.
And that's reality. So all of this stuff that we go through, and I tell you this as a person who suffers from bipolar disorder, it's something that's brought down from my family. My mother suffers from bipolar, but I think out of everyone, I'm the only one that really can control it better. Only because I've tapped into my spiritual side and I actually allow the spirit to speak to me without me believing that I'm crazy, because I'm not crazy.
Right.
See, people say that they leave everything to God. Okay, that's fine. But what God? There are many gods. So when people talk about God, they talk about God, and they talk about the Christians' God, the white God. But the reality is, if you look at everything and you surmise all these stories together, Farrakhan wasn't wrong. The Nation of Islam. The only thing is, there's a difference between extremists. There's a difference between left wings and right wing, like they try to do in politics.
Yes.
Now, for a person like me, that has read the Bible, that has read the Torah, who reads the Quran, I don't interpret it any way except the way it's supposed to be interpreted, because God does not give anyone the right to judge. Now, Farrakhan says that black men are bisexual or like to have sex because that's the poison that the Europeans brought to the black people. That's not true. That's a lie. But you know what? Who's going to argue with him? Dr. Farrakhan, right? Who's going to argue Farrakhan? I'm not here to win a pissing contest to see who has the bigger dick. It doesn't matter to me. He has his role. He has his life. He has his position. I have mine. He can believe
Right.
whatever he wants. I can believe whatever I want. I don't have the FBI looking down my back or checking out my bank account the way he does. So that's on
Right.
him. Now, the what I can say is that if I'm going to choose a religion that's organized, I would choose the Muslim religion because of the fact that if you really look at Christianity the way, quote unquote, the Europeans want us to look at what they imposed on us, you get to see that the Muslims actually are the ones, the Arabs are actually the ones that actually live their life like a Muslims, like Jesus. They take baths, they're very clean. They wash up before they eat. They wash up before they pray. They let their beards grow. You know, these are all things that it's in the Quran and all these things that are in the Torah. Now, if I'm going to make an assumption between one or the other, I've never met a Muslim that did not smell good. Now you read between the lines. Okay. I mean, one of my mentors was Jewish, and I love him, and I will always love him wherever he may be. And I called him dad. He showed me a lot in life. He was a conservative Jewish man who did not like Hasidic Jews. Now, I've only met and run across Hasidic Jews growing up when I went to the city. Not all of them smell pleasant. I've been on planes with them. Now, that's one thing. Two, I don't understand the whole concept of why women have to chop off their hair and wear wigs.
Right.
And have sex behind a blanket. Just like I don't understand why a woman should have to wear a hijab. Yes, it says to dress modestly. It doesn't say anything about covering your face looking like Cousin It, where you walk around with all that hair and you don't see nothing. But that is me. But then again, who instilled these belief systems on these people? Some people say the Christians did it. Some people say the Jews did it. But you know what? Jesus was not a Christian. Buddha was not Buddha. Buddha wasn't a Buddhist.
Right.
And Muhammad was not a Muslim. These were people of God. They created their path, and I get it. But if you want to look at something, you want to read and you want to educate yourself, you have to understand that every single thing that happens to us, it's related to our DNA. The savagery. There are the savagery that has happened between African people, between the Hulus and the Tutsis. Remember that? How many millions of Africans died, sometime in the 70s or the 80s? They were killed. Now the Tutsis were the ones that are very refined Black people. Very refined, very small noses, very small lips, very educated.
Right.
The other ones were basically the ones that lived on land and they farmed their land. But then you have what is that? There's a part of Africa that everybody's mostly light skinned, the Ivory Coast. Then you go to the Ivory Coast, and then you go to, let's say, Port Gertie, or let's say Malta. Okay.
Right.
And you see in the outskirts of all these islands that are around Africa, which also belong to Africa.
Right.
Everybody looks Hispanic.
Okay.
Everybody looks Hispanic.
Right.
There's very few dark people. But they don't have issues. Do you understand? They don't have issues with other islanders as much as Africans have issues with American Blacks because they don't feel that we are educated enough, and we're not. And I say we because, one, I'm Puerto Rican and Cuban, but my grandfather and my grandmother both were, when they were born, their uh, according to
Ancestry.
the ancestral.com and 23andMe, they were considered being Negroes.
Negro.
And, and great greats, they were all considered being Negroes in Puerto Rico. So rewinding the tape again backwards, what I was saying earlier about people being tested and people being used and people being used as slaves. You don't think that the Egyptians used their own slaves, Africans, to learn or to find how it was to embalm people? Of course they did. The people with power always try to dominate the people without. And the
Right.
biggest problem of all is that the people who don't think they have power actually live a lifetime believing they have none, when in reality, they have more power than the powerful one. Because what they have is a voice. They just don't use it. Because they were born up in the generation where you have to be seen and not heard.
Right.
A generation.
Remember that.
Okay. How many Blacks and Hispanic women, boys, and girls have been raped and molested by my Uncle Johnny, my Uncle Tom, my cousin Roger, my mother's friend, my auntie's husband? Come on, really? It's in the DNA. How many young girls to this day get raped in churches, in synagogues? How many girls get raped in mosques? Or how many Muslims rape women, young girls, because they believe that the Quran says that it is okay? Do you understand? This is the only problem that I have with organized religion, because they don't believe in science. They don't believe in science only when it's convenient for them to believe in science. Okay?
Right.
They go according to Allah, which, like I said, I believe in Allah, and I do chant and I pray to Allah, because I do believe in the way that they structure their ways. But there are things that I am not going to agree with, and just there are a lot of things in the Bible that I don't agree with, because it says, what is it? It is easier for a poor man to go to heaven than a rich man. Something about going through the eye of the needle, something like that. I don't get these mega churches, how they're so huge, and it's because they want you to believe in one thing. Jesus is going to heal everything. Well, guess what? Where was Jesus when little Sarah was getting raped or gang raped by your congregation? Where was Jesus? Where was your Jesus? Okay.
Right.
9 out of 10, I don't know why it happens. People that are raped or people that are abused have family members that have been abused, or a mother or a father that's been abused. So for some reason or another, I don't know if it is that, people wear a kind of like a platform on their forehead that says, or a sticker that says, come take me. Take me. I'm available. We can debate about many things as much as we want, but the overall picture here of what I'm trying to explain is that we all come from the same thing, one seed.
Right.
You're always going to have problems. There's always going to be Blacks that are not going to like Hispanics. There are always going to be Hispanics that are not going to like Blacks. There are always going to be whites that are going to love Blacks, and women that don't hate. They hate Black men who go to with white women. But the thing is that a lot of the times, whether they want to believe it or not, a lot of these women that owned slaves, they were also victimized, because yes, these Black women were being raped by the master and they were having children by the master. But whose titty was their baby sucking on? These white women had their children sucking on Black women's titties. You don't think those women suffered? You don't think they have anger within them too? They have a lot of anger. They're savages. They came from Europe, and a lot of them were savages. Some of the worst people came from Europe, came to this country. People can say, oh, no, my mother came in the Mayflower. I don't care if your mother came on the goddamn good ship, Lollipop. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is this. The bottom line is a lot of the people that came into this country came in as savages. Why? This land was not empty. This land was never empty. There's things to prove that Africans actually even came this far. Okay?
That's true.
Not too long ago, I want to say maybe 20 years ago, they were building something in New York and they found a grave site in the street. They found a grave site that had African bones in them. How did the Africans get all the way over here? How the hell you think? How the hell you think? Okay. Do they think that technology wasn't created by them? Do they actually believe that? And see, there are many, 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 many questions. And a lot of the questions is the telephone wasn't created by a white man. The electricity was not created by a white man. You know, there's so many things that white men have taken credit for and white people have taken credit for that only black men did. And they convinced them that because they were black and because they didn't have the right to vote and because they were considered so-and-so free from slavery at that point, that they did not have the ability to, manufacture or put a label on their own stuff. So therefore, they took credit for the work that their assistants did and did it better than them. So when they come out to say how, you know, blacks, the only thing that blacks know and the only thing that the Hispanics know, and that's why they're so fucked up, that all they know is how to do this and do drugs and whatever. Well, guess what? Where do we learn it from? Where do we learn it from? The stresses in the world. Why is 97% of serial killers white? Not black, they're white. That's one thing. Now, people talk about slavery and they forget that even the black Hispanics were also used in Puerto Rico and DR and Guatemala and all these countries. They were sterilized too. They were also injected with gonorrhea, you know, and you know, they were moved from one island to another. There was a time that they took 50,000 Puerto Ricans from Puerto Rico and took them to Hawaii. That's why you have Gonzalez's, you got Rodriguez, you got all these Spanish names that come from Puerto Rico, but that's because they moved them. So just the way they moved them, it's the same way the slavery came about, because they moved them in the like 1918, 1920, and one person bought yame. They bought it's a root. They bought cassava. One bought cassava, one bought yame, one bought green bananas, one bought, you know, everything that they knew, and they grew. That's why Hawaii has basically everything that they have in Puerto Rico and on the other Caribbean islands. Now, in this country, when the slaves came, the people that came in here that were aristocratic, they came to Europe and they tried to teach people how to fend for themselves. The Native Americans taught Africans how to survive and how to plant the right way. But it's not saying that Africa didn't have their own way of planting. Because if you really look at Native Americans, where did they come from?
Right.
Where did they come from? If you're 80% Native American, you're considered being pure Native American. But if you look at your DNA, you're still going to be from Africa.
Yep.
Do you understand? Chinese people. Chinese people got higher melon than a lot of Hispanics.
True.
Where they come from? Africa. And that's the whole thing. Everything was based and has come from Africa, and yet everybody that lives life is assuming, and they take this on this condition where, where we have mental health because of this or that or the other. No, we have mental illness because we are born with a type of depression that is long lived. We don't know where it comes from. It's just in our DNA. But then we live in a country that feeds us drugs from the minute we're born. They're injecting us and giving us drugs and changing the composition of who we are. Then they don't tell you that you need to do this or you should do this. They tell you you have to do it. It's mandatory. Mandatory why? Look at the Tuskegee Airmen. They fought so much, and they actually, if it were not for them, the war would not have been won. More would have been lost. But you didn't hear about the airmen until maybe 20 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. So now it's not just them. Now it's like all these things that are coming out of where these black men came, and these black men created all of these things. Something fascinating that I learned today, which was a lot of these lawmen who captured a lot of these bank robbers in the Western time, even the Lone Ranger, that was a character that was created by a black man. It was a black man. So they created that character from the life of a black man.
Right.
These sheriffs that used to go or these people that used to go bounty hunting, they were black. And they would bring back the people. But why? Because they were black and they were mixed with Cherokee, Blackfoot, all kinds of Indians. They mixed well. Okay?
Right.
My personal belief in life has always been this, okay? You can change a person if you educate them the right way. But you can never tame a savage. A savage is always going to be a savage. I don't care how many people in Europe or different parts of Europe can say, oh, well, you know what? Black Lives Matters. Yes, I agree. Black Lives Matters. And yes, I agree that all life matters. But the reality is Black Lives Matter. But my question to a lot of the Black Lives Matter followers are, how much does Black matter to them? Do you understand? I'm Hispanic, and I've seen Hispanics fight each other. But I've never seen a Hispanic shoot another Hispanic. I've always seen them when they say, we're going to do this, they fight at fist. You don't see black boys fighting in fists like I did when I was growing up. You did not. You do not. A black gentleman will come up to another black gentleman and shoot him for no reason. Why? Why? It has nothing to do with them being savages. It has to do with the fact that they've learned, it's a learned behavior that they learned from the savages from here, the savages in this country. Because white people were known for that, killing each other. Some men go crazy, kill a woman, and then kill themselves. Why? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of questions you ask yourself, but you know what? Mental illness, I don't believe that mental illness is something that should define us. I think that everyone who has mental illness can be cured. The problem is that I find in life is that, and of course, being a person that suffers from bipolar, I've learned that the biggest problem is that pharma, they want to give you medication, and just when you get your life is going right, that you have that perfect balance. Then they start to take that away from you and give you other shit to confuse you more. Because they don't want to see you lucid. They want to see you fucked up.
Right.
They want to make sure that you're not able to function as a human being. Now, some people may say, well, he uses the black word very often. Well, guess what? Baby girl, you were not born in Africa. Neither was your mama. Neither was your grandmother. Neither was your great grandmother. So you know what? Africans, to me, African Americans are the ones that come from Africa. That their children are first generation African. That to me is African American.
Okay.
You're American, but you're also Native. Because the one thing that a lot of Black Americans do not understand is that they are more than what they are perceived to be. All you have to do is the homework. All you have to do is the homework. If you are, I don't know the percentage, but if you are something like 30% Native American, you have claims. You have claims. Do the work. You know what I'm saying? People will say, well, I'm not going to spend $80 on a test. Yeah, but guess what? But you spend $120 to get a wig, and you spend another $60 to get fake nails to try to look like Beyonce. Mm-mm. You know what I'm saying? So while many are trying to show the world that they matter, there are many that are trying to sabotage them of their own kind. I see it all the time. I see it all the time. Then you have these white people that put on masks and they create ruckuses and they break things and they create so many, they burn things down and then they make it seem as if the Black people are doing it.
Right.
So why not go crazy? Why wouldn't you go crazy? Tell me, why wouldn't you go crazy? If you spend your life being called a nigger, if you are looked at every time you go on a bus, woman or male, they look at you like you're going to steal. If you go into the supermarket and they follow you, if you go to the store and they follow you, if they talk behind your back and they talk loud enough so you can hear them, what makes you think that people of color, any color, will not be crazy? Now, if you want to sum up crazy, there are more crazy white people in the world than there are Black people or Hispanics. If you want to sum up welfare, like they say, more white people are on welfare than Blacks and Hispanics. Oh, yeah. You got Tennessee, you got Mississippi, you got Kentucky, you name it, they have it. Okay? And those are the ones who have the uprising, who always believe, let's make America great again. Okay. America was never great. It was only great when Native Americans lived here. It wasn't greater after that. It wasn't. Okay. We've learned a lot. I've had my share of fun. I've had my share of partying and getting high and doing all this stuff and experimenting with all kinds of stuff. But I'll tell you one thing. The saddest moments of my life weren't when I lost things. The saddest moments of my life was when I was being drugged and tested on and trying things and probed to see what was creating the chaos. Well, the chaos inside of me comes from my Native American side, which are the Arawaks. They were crazy people. They were crazy Native Americans. They will kill you in a minute, and they will use a machete on you without thinking about it twice. And it hasn't changed. It has not changed. Right now in New Jersey, where I was from, and in New York and Union City and Long Island, there are gangs that are Hispanic gangs that will cut you up in pieces. They don't use guns. They only use machetes. It's part of who they are. It's in their DNA, but it's also in here, defending themselves. Do you understand? What American Blacks are doing is just trying to defend who they are. But in order for them to defend who they are, they have to know who they are. They have to know who they are. They can't make us us believe or us want to see them in one way if they don't see themselves that way. You know, a lot of people have a problem with Black people who are very educated, and they say, "Oh, well, he's an Uncle Tom." Well, what makes him an Uncle Tom? He has white friends. He went to school. He paid his dues, so he's living in a $2 million house, and he socializes with white people. He doesn't socialize with Black people that are uneducated, not because he doesn't want to be bothered with them, but because at the end of the day, he probably did socialize with people that didn't have anything when he was younger, and he realized that those people are still there. So why socialize with something that's going to pull you down? Doesn't matter if you're white or Black or Hispanic. And I tell you this from experience, honey. You know me for many, 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 many years. I don't like very many people. I don't care if you're white, you're Black. I don't care what color you are. I don't care if you're purple. I don't like very many people. I don't like people in my home. I don't like people touching me. I don't like people around me. If I'm in a room with more than 5 white people, I have to leave because they suffocate me. Because why? Because they have nothing productive to say. Nothing that I want to hear. Because if all the years I've studied was a lie, what makes you think that I'm going to be interested in anything else you have to say? It's just food for thought. Food for thought. There are ways to get around things. There are ways to do things. There are ways to handle certain situations. But at the end of the day, you are only as good as what you choose yourself to be. Always know. There was a couple of women who wrote a book, or one Black woman who wrote a book that talks about the DNA of Black people, you know, and minority people, the pains and the suffering. But if you look at not just them, look at the Chinese. Why is it that you think that the Chinese people they're not so emotional with their children?
They're disattached.
They're many dynasties and centuries. There have been wars, and they have taken the children, the boys from the mothers, and they have taken the girls and sold the girls and raped the girls. So the women had to learn to program their brains. So in the 20th century, we're in the 21st century, in the 20th century, how many baby girls in China and even in Japan were floating in the rivers because the girls were irrelevant? Yeah, to the point where Japan is overpopulated with men, and there's maybe like 30 men per one woman, and it has one of the highest suicide rates.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, think about what you're doing. We all have issues. We all have them deep rooted. We all think that it has a lot to do with because of wars that have happened in our countries and wars that it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. It goes back to the seed, the original seed, which has been covered up to be a lie. Okay? Why Indians know that they are Black. Indians know that they came from Africa too. They don't hide it. There's a lot of them that pretend they don't.
Right.
But a lot of them know that they did. Do you understand? Colombia has a town, I think it's in Cartagena, that when you walk into the countryside of it, there is, I think I showed you that, right? I think you looked that up one time.
No, that's Brazil. Brazil.
No, but Colombia has it too. That you walk in the countryside, and they speak the native African tongue. They speak Spanish, but they also speak their native African tongue, because when there's walls to get into the town, and there's an African woman in chains that comes out of the wall, and an African man that comes out of the wall. And this is Colombia. In Bahia, Brazil, when I went, it was so beautiful. I've never seen men of color that are so dark and yet have gray eyes and light, uh, honey color eyes. But to me, that's not a mutation. I think that that is something that is passed down generation. Because you go to Bahia, yeah, you see some whites and you see white skinned people dating, people of color or mulattoes, whatever. And there's a lot of mulattoes, but there's a lot of black history there, and it will continue to be. Now, I know I've gone on many tangents on different subjects, but it all boils down to the one thing. Like I said, it's a seed. Most of the problems, most of the mental problems the Hispanics and blacks have are in their DNA. It's not just family. It's not something that's just been passed down from family to family. It's not just in that. It's also in the blood.
Okay. We have a question
Okay.
for you. They said, can spirituality help with the healing?
It's a very good question, because that is why a lot of blacks and Hispanics, multicultural, but mostly a lot of blacks are going back to Africa. A lot of them want to learn about their ancestral ways of worshiping. And yes, I do believe that if you tap into who you really are, not who you or your family were molded to be, you will find truth within yourself and peace.
Okay. Well, we on Blog Talk, we are going to go into overtime. So what I'm going to do is play a little commercial real quick, because they're about to be shut down in a minute. So I have to play that on the commercial. Let me see. Let's get this going on. Uh-oh, come on. I'm sorry, you guys.
The rules of adapting and being able to see your reality before your eyes evolve each and every night as you awake to a new reality which you choose. The book, Manifestation Workbook by Dr. Cicely D'Angelo, will help you, guide you to your dreams that are now reality that you seek. Exercises the body, mind, and soul, the senses it covers, for you to get in touch with the inner you of your dream world and put it in the real world, your reality, to walk the walk you so choose. The book, again, Manifestation Workbook by Dr. Cicely D'Angelo. Available on Amazon in hardback and ebook. Available in Barnes & Noble, hardback and Nook. And also can be ordered from Dr. Cicely D'Angelo, PhD, off of Facebook, her fan page. Reach out on these portals of being able to get the book to make your dream reality today. Manifestation Workbook by Dr. Cicely D'Angelo.
All right, that was my commercial. We're winding down. We're going in a little bit. We got 2 minutes. See, you talk about, but this is an hour show, darling. So for you guys out there, we got coffee will already coming loud and clear. This was a test pilot. Thank you for asking questions. And in the chat room, I want to say everybody, I don't know who everybody is. Some people are signed in, some people are not. And I thank you for being here. So we are going to leave you with a quote, and we'll let Ori say a little bit and then tell you stay tuned for tomorrow for the Real Show. So this is Test Pilot. If you have any questions or suggestions, let us know.
Yes, especially suggestions. If they feel that they can come up with suggestions that they want to talk about. Because like I said, not only I just label myself as being a life coach, but an intuitive life coach. But I am a medium. I am a spiritualist. I am an herbalist, uh, ordained minister, meditation teacher, past life regression teacher. I've published books on herbs and spiritual baths. Uh, I am a Yoruba practitioner and a Yoruba elder, as well as a native elder. So, any name, anything you want to know that I can help you with, just ask.
Okay.
And thank you.
You're welcome. Now, what we're going to do, because we're going to focus, because the 10th is coming up and is World Mental Health Day, that is very important. So this is part one. Part two, we're going to start breaking it down, the different mental illnesses and the connection that it has with people, their bodies, and their families, and the fact that it leaves mental illness that leaves devastation in a family and a generation that's wiped out. That is something very important that we need to really discuss, because we're not even thinking of the effect it has on our future children. So that is part two. We're going to get down and dirty, like he said, ripped off the Band-Aid. The Band-Aid, I don't know. It's like we're really trying to fix that wound that really needs to, and give you the tools that you'll be able to use and help a sister, a brother, a friend, or someone you see out there to be able to relate and not judge, but also get them to the next level. So that is it. I want to say this is your favorite food alchemist, aka Dr. D from Food Alchemy Network. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And as I said, if you like everything, go to my webpage and also subscribe. The little bell, ding, 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 ding. Push the little bell and subscribe. And you'll know when we're going to be on, because we're on two portals. We're on YouTube, and we're actually live on Blog Talk, where you can actually pick up the phone and call and ask a question or put it in the chat room. So if you agree or disagree, let me know. If you didn't have a question this time, write it down, save it for later, and ask it the next show. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow, same time, as the same time, same bat station. I just want to say, we'll see you tomorrow.
Peace and love.
Cheers. Hold on.